Donald J. Trump, fresh off whatever the fuck he's doing in the nation's capital, has now laser-focused his sights on the ultimate prize of all, the Nobel Peace Prize, of course. And after cold calling the Norwegian finance minister because he knows he who controls the finances gives out the prizes, and realizing that the pesky Norwegians ain't gonna give it to him that easily, he's now decided to give that whole "I'm gonna end it in a day" Russia-Ukraine war thing another go. To that end, he promptly invited Vlad to Alaska for a tete-a-tete.
Of course, we remember the summit between these two leaders during President Trump's first term in Helsinki. They met, and now they meet again right here.
I tried to convince my previous American colleague that the situation should not be brought to the point of no return when it would come to hostilities. And I said it quite directly back then that it's a big mistake. Today, when President Trump is saying that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that. I think that overall, me and President Trump have built a very good, business-like and trustworthy contact. And I have every reason to believe that moving down this path, we can come, and the sooner the better, to the end of the conflict in Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. That was very profound. And I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal.
So there's no deal, but there may be a deal.
So just to put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant.
Okay, crystal clear, Don. There's no deal until there is a deal. It was enormously productive. Many points were agreed on. A few couldn't be agreed on, but they're not important. But one of them is the most important of them all. Great stuff. So what are the points of agreement and disagreement? Well, allegedly, Putin has agreed for Europeans and Americans to provide Ukraine with real security guarantees, an ostensible red line for him, and also to meet with Zelensky in a bilateral, where a peace plan would be hammered out between them that, no doubt in Putin's expectations, involves the Ukrainian leader relinquishing some of Ukraine's land. And remember, none of this is confirmed apart from the fact that Vladimir wants Ukraine's land. The media's verdict on Trump's meeting with Vladimir?
Fareed, thanks for joining us. So, President Trump called the meeting extremely productive. He definitely tried to put a positive spin on, let's be frank, he was trying to bring peace and end a war. I mean, there's nothing wrong about his goal, but it does appear that there really wasn't anything concrete achieved. No ceasefire, no sanctions relief or sanctions imposed. We don't really know where we are other than Putin got himself a summit in Alaska. What do you make of what we just saw?
Yeah, I think you have it right, Jake. Look, the atmospherics of the entire summit was somewhat cringeworthy.
But let's talk a little bit about the expectations versus reality that we were just having this conversation with here. So we learned Donald Trump will host Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky on Monday at the White House. This, of course, comes after he failed to deliver on a ceasefire or, quite honestly, any concrete deal during his meeting with Vladimir Putin yesterday. with little to talk about, but also a lot to try to analyze, right? Because we're trying to make sense of what has happened, when in reality, very little actually came out of that meeting publicly. We are getting some insights into now this idea that President Trump wants to go for a big deal, a peace deal, an all-encompassing type of deal. We don't even know what that means. But just give me your read over the past 24 hours in terms of how this has played out and where you see things going from here.
So first on what just happened over the last 48 hours, we, the President of the United States, not we, invited to our country a dictator. That sometimes happens. But this one's an indicted war criminal, so that doesn't happen hardly ever.
Like ever. Suffice to say, the liberal media wasn't impressed. I'm sure Fox was calling it the greatest meeting they've ever witnessed between two sentient organisms. But dare I say, maybe both sides were jumping the gun on this, especially given that Trump has been uncharacteristically coy about the whole affair. Now, as mentioned, right after Vladimir, Zelensky and the European Dream Team were promptly invited to the White House to discuss developments.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have the President of Ukraine with us. We've had a lot of good discussions, a lot of good talks, and I think progress is being made, very, very substantial progress in many ways. We had a good meeting, as you know, just a short while ago with the President of Russia, and I think there's a possibility that something could come out of it, and today's meeting is very important. We have, I guess, the seven very powerful leaders from Europe, and we're going to be meeting with them right after this meeting, and thank you very much for being here.
The astute among you may have already noticed this meeting went far, far better than the last one, with Trump being a far more gracious host in round two.
Brian, go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. I've got a question for each of you. First of all, Mr. President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? That's the one that attacked you last time. See, now he's.
I remember that.
I know. You look wonderful. No, my first question for you, President
But you
Zelensky.
are in the same suit. You see, I changed. You are not.
Maybe yours is much better. Real quickly, upon peace, God willing we get peace, are you open to holding an election in your country?
Yes, of course. We are open for election, yes. We have to do safety circumstances. And a little bit, we need to work in the parliament, because during the war you can't have elections, but we can do security. We need, maybe, how to say, we need a truth, yes, everywhere, in the battlefield, in the sky, in the sea, yeah, to make possible for people to do democratic, open, legal elections.
So you say during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, that's good. I wonder what the fake.
You like this idea?
No.
Great joke, Donald. Very on brand for the January 6th guy. And of course, Donald being Donald, he still couldn't resist rambling on about Washington, D.C. and mail-in votes and old cancer-stricken Joe Biden and whatever the fuck.
We have a thing going on right now in D.C. We went from the most unsafe place anywhere to a place that now friends are calling me up, Democrats are calling me up, and they're saying, sir, I want to thank you. My wife and I went out to dinner last night for the first time in 4 years, and Washington, D.C. is safe, and you did that in 4 days. I'll tell you it's safe. I had another friend of mine, he has a son who's a great golfer, he's on tour, and he came in 4th yesterday in the big tournament where Scotty Scheffler made the great shot. Joe Biden, a corrupt politician, not a smart man, never was. By the way, go back 40 years, he was not a smart man 40 years ago either. But now he's in particular bad. Mail-in ballots are corrupt. Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt and you know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses them.
You're wrong. Nevertheless, despite the transgressions, he really was courteous to his foreign guest, and this courtesy extended to the others as well in the multilateral love session that followed.
Prime Minister Starmer of the United Kingdom, our friend and my friend, and doing really well. And people like him a lot. We all like him. Everyone knows President Macron of France, who's been with me from the beginning, one of the first people I met as a foreign dignitary, and I liked him from day one. And I like him even more now. That's pretty good. That's unusual. That's a pretty unusual thing. Prime Minister Meloni of Italy, who's a really a great leader and an inspiration over there. She's served now, even though she's a very young person, she's served there for a long period of time relative to others. They don't last very long. You've lasted a long time. You're going to be there a long time. Chancellor Merz of Germany, who is a very strong person and a very strong leader and very highly respected in Germany. And he's my friend, and it's an honor to have him as my friend. Thank you very much. Very good. You look great with your tan. Where did you get that tan?
But beyond appearances, what's really going on here? Although details are scant about the workings of these negotiations, as I already said, I think we can surmise two main points from them. Number one, that in his meeting with Trump, Putin ostensibly accepted that security guarantees by the West to Ukraine would be part of the peace plan. And number two, he's asking for Ukrainian land in return. Reportedly, even parts he hasn't been able to conquer yet. That's a tough sell. Now, will a bilateral meeting between Putin and Zelensky happen? Maybe. Is Putin serious about accepting Western security guarantees, up to and including Western boots on the ground? I struggle to believe that. So why does Trump believe it? Well, there was a hot mic moment.
At one point today, Trump was caught on a hot mic talking about Putin's intentions.
I think he wants to make a deal. I think he wants to make a deal for me. You understand that? As crazy as it sounds.
You have to understand, Donnie, that sounds extremely fucking crazy. Oh my, he really is stupider than I thought. Even if his intentions are right on this one, the guy is fucking dumb. He's not gonna be able to pull it off. Even if Zelensky and Putin meet, which is definitely not certain, Putin won't agree to real security guarantees for Ukraine, regardless of his lies to Trump now. And Zelensky won't agree to give Putin 20% of Ukraine's land. And to his credit, he's never lied about it either. So do I see a peace deal happening anytime soon? Unlikely. If there is one, let's just give the man baby the Nobel and be done with it. But before we go, just to illustrate the complexity of the subject, let us end with the words of Emmanuel Macron, who gave a cheeky interview to NBC News before exiting the country.
The day we start accepting the recognition of territories being taken by force, this is just the end of international order. How do you want us collectively to be credible in other places in Europe, in Africa? How do you want us to keep having debate on Taiwan? Do you believe one second if we recognize part of Donbass or Crimea or I don't know what, and you say, okay, because this is, I don't know what, nuclear power, it's okay. There is no more international order.